Is finally official. The Chargers naming Mike McDaniel their offensive coordinator on Monday. McDaniel interviewed for several head coaching vacancies and also withdrew his name from consideration for both the Browns and Bills opening. McDaniel was fired after 4 seasons in Miami after going 35-33 in the regular season. He reached the postseason twice. McDaniel now going from Tua Tagovailoa, who was the 5th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, to Justin Herbert, who went 6th. And the Bills are still in the market for an interview with Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaase for their head coaching vacancy. Scheelhaase also had a second interview with the Browns for their head coaching job. And the NFL Flag Championship plus, but Jamie, certainly looking at this head coaching vacancy and this carousel that seems to just go around. There's only a few seats left if someone wants to jump off the ride.
A couple years back, Sherry, thank you so much on Good Morning Football. We played musical chairs. We physically played it. And if Kyle remembers, I elbowed him in the ribs trying to get into my seat. It doesn't feel like that's how this game is going of musical chairs. It's taking a long time. We're waiting for the music to stop, and still there's going to be a seat vacant. It feels like Manti Te'o. 6 coaches have been hired, 4 vacancies still as we take a look at the availabilities. Bills, Browns, Cardinals, and Raiders. Davis Webb's name popped up a lot. But you look at Western New York, because they were the latest to enter the chat, if you will, for coaching interviews. What do you make of the absence of a head coach still in Buffalo?
Well, I look at what they're looking at, right? You're looking at someone from the Rams, looking for someone from the Broncos. And it's always funny when you watch these head coaching vacancies and the search for a head coach. It's almost like, you know when you go to those restaurants where they're bringing out that sizzling steak and you didn't know what to order, and all of a sudden, then you hear that sizzle go by and like, oh, what did they order? Let me order some of that. That's like when Sean McVay and his dominance as a coach. He's that sizzling steak, and everybody's just walking through the aisle, and the Bills like, whoa, what is that? Let me get some of that. They're trying to figure out pieces to this puzzle that they have over here in LA and try to implement it there. So I'm always fascinated, KB, with these teams that try to get a piece of these winning programs, and hopefully it turns out the way that those programs are doing things. So that's the sizzling steak, KB.
Yeah, such a look at me entree, the sizzling fajita. It's just such an attention getter, and it's really ultimately overrated. Once the smoke goes away, it's actually not that good.
Oh, no.
I just think that this is one of the most interesting coaching cycles we've ever had, and it's mostly because I think teams are firing and hiring based on looking around, to your point, Manti, at what Ben Johnson did and what Liam Cohen did, about what Indiana football just did in college. Like, we have to get someone now. We can change everything. We're the Browns, the Cardinals. We can be in the Super Bowl next year, I promise. And they're just waiting and waiting. And by the way, go ahead and wait. There's no pressure. Why aren't they hiring someone in Buffalo? I don't know, because they just talked to a 30-year-old guy in Buffalo, and they're taking their time. And that is a really important hire. Frankly, I'll just say this now, I'm relieved that they did not do something crazy and reckless with Phillip Rivers. That story to me was amusing and charming. But oh my God, I was worried for a second they might actually hire him to be head coach. Come on, what are we doing? I like the fact they're taking their time. They should. Because if you don't take your time, we're going to put your dumb logo up again next year or 2 years from now, do it again. The Bills have to get this hire right. It is the most important hire left on the board. I think even if you clear the rest of them, it's still the most important hire because the caliber of the quarterback, Willie.
Yeah, talk about getting it right. I thought the Giants got it right by hiring John Harbaugh. Talk about spending 18 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, only 3 losing seasons. And now he has the opportunity to rewrite his legacy in New York. He has Jackson Dart waiting for him. He has a front 7 in the Giants, who I think is one of the best in the league. And you talk about immediate impact. He's expected to turn this thing around ASAP. I want to see if he can get it done, Jamie. Hopefully he can.
Yeah, we're just looking at this graphic behind us here in the studio, and it is one of the most compelling and fascinating ones, because not only is it head coaching vacancies across the board, the names that have politely ended their candidacy with the Cleveland Browns, I think, fascinate us as well, and how that team navigates going forward without a head coach. Also the coordinator spot, because as those pins start to fall in the head coaching, you're still looking at an Eagles team that needs an offensive coordinator. You're still looking at a Ravens team, a Titans team. And speaking of the Titans, you got Robert Saleh, who's new to Nashville. He needs a pass game guy. He needs someone to navigate this Cam Ward experience. He can be a great head coach for a second-year quarterback in Cam Ward as a man in the building, but you need a prolific offensive coordinator to make sure you can navigate and usher Cam Ward into his second season. And speaking of watchers of GMFB, we have Robert Saleh interview on Friday.
Oh, let's go.
At the end of the week.
Oh, yeah?
Saleh coming on the show. Yeah. Kyle, if you just kicking around some ideas, what do you want to know from Saleh? This just brainstorming some conversations with the new head coach in Tennessee.
Well, I want to hear about the quarterback in Cam Ward and his designs within the AFC South, and it's an interesting thing. I mean, he goes from this pressure cooker here in New York City down to Nashville. I mean, every single person I know in my life and your life moves to Nashville. It's what everyone's supposed to do. Everyone go to Nashville. You can get 50 acres for $50 in Nashville. Everyone says Nashville's the place. If you're not moving to Nashville, you're a loser. That's what I've been told. So Robert Saleh's moving to Nashville in a totally different tenor and a vibe that he faced in New York City, which I don't think was fun. And he gets to start over completely. I love it. I want to hear about that. And by the way, I want to hear if Robert Saleh is still on PHW, which the supplement he told us he was on, and PHW is pure hard work, and I think it's an absolutely hilarious thing. And is he getting his lift in, and do they involve kettlebells? Robert Saleh, go get the AFC South in year one. That's what the new coaches do now, you guys. They go and they show up and they just dominate. So there's a couple topics with Liam Cohen we could get into about after the game, on the field, extracurriculars. But we'll see. We'll see where he wants to go. I love Coach Saleh.
See, KB's over there asking for the workout and all of that stuff. I want to know what defense he runs. I want to know. Not a lot of people know this, but my first cousin, Cheyenne, is married to Henry To'oto'o, who's one of the linebackers, starting linebackers for the Houston Texans. And they run the same defense that they ran over there, with Coach Robert Saleh. And I want to know, from a defensive guy, what are your calls? What's the techniques? And when you run quarters coverage, are you carrying it 10 to 12 yards? Are the safeties clamping this? That's the type of questions that I want to sit with Robert Saleh and just be like a football nerd and be like, Coach, why is your defense so good? How are you able to go from a coordinator job to a head coaching job and then come back to a San Francisco 49ers defense and just revamp everything with none of your star guys there? So that's what I would love to sit with him at a dinner with some sizzling fajitas, Jamie.
He would
just talk about some ball.
He would lay two concepts on you: pure hard work and all gas, no brakes. That's what he would say. That's his thing. That's a solid ism.
Ditto.
And Kyle, he double dipped on the moving to Nashville, Tennessee, because not only did he leave New York to do that, also California. It's just like the two. Austin, Texas would like a word, because that's the other place people like to go as well. We still have 4 head coaching vacancies. We'll keep you updated on GMFB as we hear more names around the block. We'll be right back.
Nothing yet. You're behind, and you need to watch tonight. The 101st East-West Shrine Bowl kicks off tonight. Like I said, 7 o'clock Eastern. But before all the action, we got the guy who makes it happen. We've got the director of football ops, Eric Galko, joining us to talk more about what we're going to see tonight. What's up, Eric? Hey, game night, baby. How we doing?
We're doing great. Game day here at the Shrine Bowl, so we're fired up.
Let's go. So are we. Scouting season. It's happening. It's here. No better place to see some of the best NFL prospects in the East-West Shrine Bowl. All right. Which players stood out to you this week during practice? Who popped? Just give us a taste.
Yeah, a couple guys that jumped out. One, there's a lot of talk in this year's draft class about who this QB2, QB3 might be. We had a couple guys that really emerged. One guy talking to NFL scouts, Cade Klubnik of Clemson, right? Came into the year with first overall pick potential in the mock drafts. Thinking Clemson didn't have a great year, but Cade Klubnik showed this week in practice all week long that he has a chance to be a first-round quarterback if the team chooses so, but definitely one of the best 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this year's draft class. 2 defensive linemen really emerged this week. Darrell Jackson of Florida State, Malachi Lawrence of UCF. Don't be surprised we see them in Dalen Jeremiah's first-round mock draft and 2.0 or 3.0 as the draft process goes along. And then under-the-radar guys such as Damon Claiborne of Wake Forest or Skylar Bell of UConn, who are probably in that top 100 area, but as a running back and receiver, they'll definitely be guys that teams draft in fantasy football this year. So there's a couple names that I think really emerged this year at the Shrine Bowl.
All right, Eric, we need to know who's going to get the Wild Bill Award this year. And by that, I mean last year's Shrine Bowl MVP, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, or Bill, now that we know him in the NFL, had a great rookie season with the Commanders. He was named Rookie of the Week 4 times. Do you have a player right now on this year's roster that you think could have the same immediate impact that Wild Bill had in the league?
Yeah, I think the cool story about Bill is that he didn't get to play his whole last season of college and had to use the draft process, especially the All-Star game, to remind NFL teams what he was in the past. And the guy that reminds me most of that is receiver Chris Hilton out of LSU. Kind of got buried in that LSU depth chart this year, only had about 10 or 11 catches on the year. But NFL teams know how explosive he is, how dynamic he is. If you put the over-under in Vegas at 4.3 for his 40-yard dash time, I'm taking the under. But all week long in practice, he's been maybe our best receiver in routes, separating down the field, etc. So for a guy that didn't produce a lot as a senior year, don't be surprised if he's a 4th, 5th round pick and ends up starting games this year as a rookie.
Yeah, Eric, we're talking about impact. This game is a great opportunity for players to get noticed, but I also notice the little logo on the back panel that you have, the Shriners Children's Hospital. Talk to us about that partnership and how special that is for the Shrine Bowl, East-West Shrine Bowl.
really our ethos as an event is Shriners Children's, and it's so cool. The early part of the week, these players are focused on their NFL interviews and on practice and meeting their NFL coaches and being at the Dallas Cowboys facility here in Frisco. But towards the end of the week, they get a chance to interact with our patients and get reminded that, hey, them just being here and having their presence at the Shrine Bowl and choosing this All-Star game as their All-Star game of choice impacts so many patients around the country, around the world, who view the Shrine Bowl as their access to football and people that are playing for them. And Shriners Children's just does such great work around the country, around the globe, to help patients regardless of the ability to pay. And I think that comparison of these patients being here and seeing the value of the Shrine Bowl, but also these players knowing that they have a huge impact, is such a cool moment every year for these guys.
Hey, Eric, Willie here. How does this draft class rank compared to last year's?
I think across the board, talking NFL teams, it's considered, I guess, more opportunity for a lot of guys to rise, right? Not considered the deepest draft class as well. I think this class is deep at defensive line, on edge rusher, and tight end, which is also where the Shrine Bowl position groups are probably the strongest. But I think spots like quarterback, offensive line, defensive back, a lot of opportunity for guys to rise from being priority free agents to draft picks, from late round picks to mid round picks, and maybe guys jumping into the first round. So I think overall it's maybe a shallower draft class, but I think we've got, by far our most NFL Combine invites. We'll have our most draft picks in Shrine Bowl history from this year's roster, and hopefully a couple guys that crash round 1, 2.
Most draft picks in Shrine Bowl history. I absolutely love to hear. And I hate when people say, there's no football this week. Nonsense. There's football 7 p.m. tonight, NFL Network, streaming on NFL Plus, East, West, Shrine Bowl. Eric, you're the man. You just got us fired up. Appreciate you, dude.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
East
Appreciate
West
it.
Shrine
You
Bowl.
got it.